المحاكمات، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إن هنا قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الحساء، قال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. قال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالة نجية، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله والذي يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالة نجية، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيه مهموم إلا فرج الله عما إله يمين، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما إله يمين، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقد الله حاجة إله يمين. अपनी सारी हाजात मांग लें। قال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम। शाह की लाडली जब कैदिए जिंदान हुई, रोई घबराई बहुत और परेशान हुई। कैद खाने की घुटन मौत का सामान हुई। जान लगता था कि मासूम की बेजान हुई। लाश शबीर की मख्दल में तड़प जाती थी, कैद खाने से जो बच्ची की सदा थी। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा, अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। कैदी कहता है कोई, कैदी कहता है कोई यतीमा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। मैं बयां कैसे करूं अपनी मुसीबत तुमसे, क्या करूं अपने तमाचों की शिकायत तुमसे। सुनती हूँ दादिने, सुनती हूँ दादिने खाया था तमाचा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। नील रुखसारों पे बीनाई भी जिसकी कम, उम्र हो 4 बरस और कमर में खम हो। आपने देखी है क्या, आपने देखी है क्या ऐसी ज़ईफ़ा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। खून बेशीर से अंदाजा किया था मैंने, आपका चेहरा तो पहचान लिया था मैंने। आप पहचानोगे कैसे, आप पहचानोगे कैसे मेरा चेहरा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। आप थे दूर तो मैं सारे सितम सहती रही, रो पड़ी कूफे के दरबार में मैं सह ना सकी। आपके सामने है, आपके सामने जब शिमर ने मारा बाबा, अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाप। वो तो बीमार थी मर जाती, सफर में आके दफन करते उसे बाजार में। भैया कैसे ये तो अच्छा हुआ, ये तो अच्छा हुआ आई नहीं सोरा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। मेरी आँखों से बहे जाते थे आंसू उस दम, हाथ भी मैंने लगाया नहीं दादी की कसम। देना चाहा मुझे है, देना चाहा मुझे लोगों ने सदका बाबा। अब मुझे कोई सकीना नहीं कहता बा। उस घड़ी ढूंढ रही थी मैं चचा जान का सर, कैसे बतलाऊं कि क्या गुजरी तेरी बेटी पर। आए मुझको जालिम ने कनीजी में, हाय मुझको जालिम ने कनीजी में जो मांगा बाबा। अब मुझे कोई सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। मैंने ये करते ही खामोश हुई वो अकबर। आज तो जाएंगे साथ अपने मुझे भी लेकर, आपको मेरी कसम, आपको मेरी कसम कीजिए वादा बाबा। अब मुझे कोई सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। कैदी कहता है कोई, कैदी कहता है कोई, कोई यतीमा बाबा। अब मुझे को इस सकीना नहीं कहता बाबा। सल्लल्लाहु
15 now. It's going to be more than 15 now. हाँ बाद में जा रहे हैं हाँ Essen the muted Inshallah, tomorrow it'll be a little longer. But I know the ulama, they come, you don't have time for Q&A, they'll just do the lecture and they'll leave. So inshallah, I don't mind, as long as I'm here, I'll do the Q&A. Tomorrow's the last day for me here. But please, by all means, bring your kids, let them attend the Q&A. The sisters also, attend the Q&A tomorrow also, inshallah. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدته القائلون ولا يوسينا معه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته وهو تدبي الصخور ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Anfal, verse number 2, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم, that the believers are those innamal. And you see that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the mu'minun, mu'mineen, mu'minat, this word mu'min, it appears over 200 times in the Quran. Its derivatives, mu'min, mu'mineen, mu'minat, mu'minun, all of these different ways of saying mu'min, it appears over 200 times in the Quran. And what we need to understand is, what is the difference between a mu'min and a Muslim? Is a mu'min the same as a Muslim? Is a Muslim the same as a mu'min? Is every mu'min a Muslim? Is every Muslim a mu'min? If no, then what's the difference between them? If no, then which one of these states is higher? Being a Muslim, is that higher? Being a mu'min, is that higher? And inshallah, if we're able to, what's the difference between a mu'min and a muttaqi? What's the difference between a muttaqi and a Muslim? Because these are all different states and different stages that an individual can be in. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in regarding mu'minun and mu'mineen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وُجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. Surely, innama, it's this phrase innama, what does it mean? It means to put a boundary. It means hasr. It means that only and only mu'minun are those. Mu'minun are those who do what? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, what happens to their hearts? Their hearts, it becomes fearful. Wujidat qulubum iza tuliyat alayhim ayati. When the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they're recited, what happens to their hearts? They're fearful. Their hearts become fearful. And then it goes on to say that when those verses are recited to them, which talk about the afterlife in good sense, what happens to their hearts? Then they're not fearful. They're looking at the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 1. 2. When it comes to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Surely the mu'minun are the ones that are successful. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَاللَّهُ وَلِيُّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the wali, He is the guardian of the mu'mineen. And then وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will not waste the reward of the mu'minun. It's not the Muslimun. He doesn't say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not waste the ajr of the Muslimun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He will not waste the ajr of the mu'min, the mu'mineen, the mu'minun. So then who are these mu'mineen? What's the difference between a mu'min and a Muslim? And to understand that difference, to see what the criteria is to be a mu'min, All we can do is we can look at the Quran itself. Because the Quran itself, it gives us the definition of who mu'min is. And when you read that definition and you compare it, not just to yourself today, compare it to people that were mu'minun, quote unquote mu'minun, 1400 years ago, and see if they were truly believers. What does it mean to be a believer? To begin with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a verse in the Quran where we understand the difference between Islam and Iman. Iman and Islam. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says the dwellers of the desert, they come to the Holy Prophet. And this was a time when there was a famine. And these people, the Holy Prophet's in Medina, and these people had not accepted Islam yet. They didn't even know about the Holy Prophet. So these desert dwellers, it just happened that there was famine. It stopped raining, there was famine. And because of that, there were no crops. Some of the Muslims from Medina, when they would go on their trips, they ran into these people. And they told these people, look, you have this problem here. There's a famine, you have no crops. Go to Medina and accept Islam on the hands of this person who claims to be a prophet. One of the things that he teaches is what? He teaches charity. If you accept Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prophet, He'll give you what you want. Think about this. Are these people accepting Islam because they truly believe in the tenets of Islam? Or are they accepting Islam because they're going to receive something in return for accepting Islam? They're coming to the Holy Prophet, why? Because there's a famine. They're being told that if you go and accept Islam, the Holy Prophet will give you food. The Holy Prophet will give you sadaqah. The Holy Prophet will give you charity. These people, they come to Medina. They say to the Holy Prophet, Ya Abul Qasim, they say, we have not fought with you the way that Fulan tribe fought with you. Ya Abul Qasim, we have so many horses. We have so many men. Why were they telling the Holy Prophet this? Because they thought that they were actually doing the Holy Prophet a favor by accepting Islam. Meaning what? Ya Rasulullah, we have these many men. If tomorrow there's a battle, these many men will be here to help you. We have these many horses. If tomorrow there's a battle, all of these horses will be here to help you. So you understand that these people, they came to the Holy Prophet and they told them what? Amanna. They said, we believe. When they said we believe, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to the Holy Prophet, O Prophet, say to them, don't say amanna. Don't say we believe, but say aslamna. Say that we have submitted. So there's a difference between submission and iman. Submission is what? Saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's it. It's to the point of the tongue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, He says, don't say amanna. Why? Because iman has not reached your hearts yet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, He says to the Holy Prophet, tell these people, don't say amanna. Why? Because iman is something that is in the hearts of an individual, not in the tongue of an individual. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah is just to the point of the tongue. Once you say this, you become a Muslim. But to be a mu'min, this La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah does not stay in the tongue. It has to go to the heart. It has to get to the heart. And what are the conditions? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, He gives us the conditions of who mu'minun are. What does He say? إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِ. He's describing to us now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing to us who in His eyes are mu'minun. What does He say? إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِ. The criteria that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is the believers, surely the believers are only and only those that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. After they believe, they don't go back. After they believe, they do not go back. Criteria number one is you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Criteria number two is that you believe in the Holy Prophet. Criteria number three is that once you have that belief, you do not turn back from that belief. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Not just those three criteria. The fourth criteria is that they do jihad with their amwal. They do jihad with their wealth. Not just their wealth, but they also do jihad with their own souls, with their own selves. For the sake of the world? No. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fi sabilillah. Fi sabilillah. Ulaika humul sadiqun. The last criteria of a mu'min is that they are sadiqun. They are truthful. They're truthful. And this is a very important criteria to be a mu'min. Why? Because a companion, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he came to him, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. A companion to the 60th man, he came to him and he asked him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, can a mu'min commit this sin? He goes, yes, it's possible a mu'min commits that sin. Can a mu'min commit this sin? Yes, it's possible. It's possible. What about this sin? Yes, it's possible. Then he asked him, can a mu'min lie? Imam Sadiq says, no, a mu'min will never lie. A mu'min will not lie. Why? Because the verse of the Quran says, mu'minun are who? Sadiqun. Mu'minun are those people that tell the truth. Ulaika humus sadiqun. A criteria of the mu'min is that they are truthful. If you look at history, first look at history. Today, the majority of Muslims, they claim that all of the companions of the Holy Prophet, they're mu'mineen, mu'mineen, mu'mineen. They're all bright stars that all of us should try to emulate and all of us should try to follow. If they were truly mu'minun, let's look into their life. Let's compare the criteria that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put and compare it to the life of these companions of the Holy Prophet. For example, you look at the second Khalifa. When the Treaty of Hudaybiyah happened, what was it that the second Khalifa said? His words are engraved not just in Shia books, but his words are engraved in Sunni books. And what was it that he said? He says what? That I never doubted the Risalat, I never doubted the prophethood of the Holy Prophet as much as I doubted it on this day of Hudaybiyah. On this day of Hudaybiyah. When you analyze this verse, what does it mean? It means that yes, this individual, he doubted the prophet of the Holy Prophet before. But on the day of Hudaybiyah, it reached to such an extent that he says what? Today, this day, this doubt has reached its peak. I never doubted the prophet of the Holy Prophet as much as I doubted it today. His words, Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, you can find it in all of the Sunni books. What is the criteria of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding mu'minun? The criteria is that the mu'minun are only those people that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet. Once they believe in these two, they do not go back. They do not go back. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they do not go back, and this is a criteria of a mu'min, then when Umar ibn Khattab said, I never doubted the Prophet of the Holy Prophet as much as I doubted it today, did he not go back? He went back. So when he went back, then how is he still a mu'min? How is he still a mu'min? You look at the first Khalifa, you look at the third Khalifa. One of the criteria is what? That mu'minun, they're truthful. One of the criteria for a mu'min is that they fight in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their wealth and their souls. With their wealth and their souls. Which one of these companions of the Holy Prophet? They go to battle, they come back 3 days after the battle is finished. When the Holy Prophet asked, where were you? I was lost. Are they truly fighting with their selves? Are they truly fighting in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. You look at these companions. Some of these companions, they themselves used to say what? When the battle, it became very difficult, we used to run up the hills like goats. We used to run up the hills like goats. Where is this criteria that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the Quran regarding mu'minun? And why isn't it that this criteria is being applied to those individuals? 3, apply that criteria to yourself and then ask yourself, are you a mu'min? Apply this criteria to yourself. And then ask, are you a mu'min? Fighting in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just with your body, not just with yourselves, not just with your souls, but also your wealth. Also your wealth. How many of us actually do that? When it comes to mu'minun, another companion came to Imam and he says to the Imam, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I'm one of your Shias. I'm one of your Shias. Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that you're lying. When Sadiq ala Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. When Sadiq ala Muhammad says that you're lying, then that means that you're truly lying. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him that title of Sadiq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him that title of truthful. When this individual says that you're lying, then you're lying. But this man, he claimed that he was a Shia of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. When he says this, Imam Sadiq, he says, no, you're lying. He goes, Ya ibn Rasulullah, no, I'm not lying. No, he goes, you're lying. Let me ask you a question. Do you love to spend your wealth more on yourself, or do you love to spend it on your brethren? And he said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I love to spend it on myself. I love to spend it on myself. He goes, Imam Sadiq, he goes, we love to spend it on our brethren more than we love to spend it on ourselves. We love to spend it on our brethren. Most of us, it's even difficult for us to give to the center, to spend on the way of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Let alone spend it on other mu'mineen and mu'minat. It's difficult for us. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that you will never reach goodness until you give from what you love. You will never reach goodness until you give from what you love. When they asked the Imam about the interpretation of this verse, he says, goodness here means what? Goodness here means the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Bir in this verse, it means the Ahlul Bayt. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, we are the bir, we are that goodness. You will never reach us until you give from what you love. What is it that a lot of people love and it's difficult for them to part with? Money. Money. It's difficult for them to part with it. To the point where some people, they'll reach in their pocket, they'll have money. Instead of giving, as much as they can give, they'll give as little as they can give. And do you know what causes this to happen? It's shaitan who puts it in an individual's ear. It's shaitan who puts it in an individual's ear that, no, you know what, you don't give the biggest bill. Don't give the most amount that you can give. Why? Because, maybe you're going to need it. Maybe you're going to need it when you leave. You're not even certain that you'll be able to leave this place, let alone you're allowing these waswasas to come into your mind and say maybe you're going to need it in the future. You're not certain about that future. All you're certain about is the moment that you're living in, that's it. After this moment, you don't know what's going to happen to you. Yet, the mu'mineen today who claim to be mu'mineen, they don't act like the mu'mineen that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam wants. They don't act like the mu'mineen that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam want. When it comes to iman itself, Amir al-Mu'mineen in the Nahj al-Balagha, he says, look, iman is of two types. Iman is of two types. There's a whole sermon when it comes in regarding to iman. Hammam, he asked this question about Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, can you describe to me a mu'min so that as if I see them? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, Hammam, just leave it alone. Because he knew what would happen. And when you read that sermon, what happens after Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Hammam, he encourages Amir al-Mu'mineen to give an answer, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes into detail, he gives the answer. And then what happens at the end? Hammam, he sees and he realizes that yes, all of that Amir al-Mu'mineen is talking about, it applies to him. The narration, Nahj al-Balagha, it says, as soon as Amir al-Mu'mineen finished, his soul had departed his body. His soul has departed his body. And an individual, he came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and asked him, why did this happen? And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says that there's some souls, when they hear or they heed some of these words, it actually hits them in their heart. And this is what I was afraid of, that this would happen to him. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, look, there's two types of iman. Iman al-mustawda and Iman al-mustaqir. Iman al-mustaqir is that iman that is grounded in your heart, and no matter what happens, it will never leave. Iman al-mustaqir is that iman, the way that a nail is hammered into a board and it's difficult to bring out that nail. That's Iman al-mustaqir. That's Iman al-mustaqir. The second type of iman, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Iman al-mustawza. Iman al-mustawza, he says that it's that iman that wavers with the time. It wavers with the air. Meaning what? Today you have that iman, tomorrow you don't. Today, as long as you're in good health, you have a good position in society, you're perfectly well and your iman is strong. But tomorrow, when that position falls, you lose your job, there's a death in the family, that iman starts to waver. The times have changed, now your iman is changing. You're with Abu Sufyan at one time, you're with the Holy Prophet another time. You're with Imam Ali alayhi salam one time, you're with Maulana another time. You're with Imam Hussein alayhi salam one time, you're with Yazid in another. You're with Imam Zaman alayhi salam now. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You're with Imam Zaman alayhi salam now. As soon as times get a little hard, you're with Sufyani. This is that iman. Iman al-mustawza. Neither the Holy Prophet, neither Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor the Holy Prophet, nor Amir al-Mu'mineen, nor Imam Hassan, nor all the way to the 12th Imam, none of these individuals want that iman that wavers with the time. All of them, they want that iman that will stay with them no matter what happens. If you believe that Imam Ali alayhi salam is your Mawla, if you believe that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he can do whatever he wants regarding your life, because you say that yes, he's my master, then if tomorrow you're in trouble, your iman regarding Amir al-Mu'mineen should not waver. Your faith regarding Imam Ali alayhi salam should not waver. If you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has complete control over your life, and that's what every Muslim believes. Every Muslim believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has complete control over their life. Tomorrow, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in troubles, then your iman should not waver. Your iman should not waver. And this is the problem that Muslims have. This is the problem Mu'mineen have. We say, yes, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they're the ones that have control over our life. Whatever they say, it's our duty to do. They're the ones with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're the ones that give. They're the ones that take away, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're perfectly fine when they give, but when they take away, that's when our iman starts wavering. This isn't the iman that Imam Ali alayhi salam wants. And when you look at the companions, certain companions of Imam Ali alayhi salam, those companions that had iman al-mustaqir, those are the companions that we still talk about today. For example, Misam al-Tammar. What was he famous for? Hands cut off. Feet cut off. Yet he's still saying Ali and Waliullah. Tongue cut off. Yet he's still saying Ali and Waliullah. That's Iman al-Mustaqir. That's why we still talk about this individual. You look at the 72 in Karbala. Each one of them, they had that iman in regards to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. That iman that did not, that iman that was as if it was engraved in their heart. Engraved in their heart. Yes, that's another story that some of those individuals, they realize later on. But when you look at those 72, you begin to understand what type of iman Imam Zaman alayhi salam wants. You begin to understand why Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, neither my grandfather nor my father nor my brother had companions like mine. Why? Because the iman that the companion of the Holy Prophet had, it wasn't iman al-mustaqir. A lot of those companions, they had iman al-mustawdi'. That iman that wavered with time. Just like these people who came to the Holy Prophet and accepted Islam. They did not accept Islam because they believed the tenets of Islam to be correct. They accepted Islam, why? Because they were able to benefit from Islam. That was it. And you see that a lot of the companions that became Muslim in Mecca, in Medina, they accepted Islam, why? Because they were able to gain some sort of benefit from Islam. Not because they believed in the Holy Prophet's Risala. Even some of these greatest companions that became Muslim in Mecca, when they came to Medina, for example, the first and the second Khalifa, after what happened with Amir al-Mumin happened, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells the first Khalifa that if the Holy Prophet was to come to you right now, and he was to tell you to give my Khilafat back to me, would you do it? Abu Bakr, he says, Ya Ali, how's the Holy Prophet, he's gone, how's he going to come back? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen goes, no, if he was to tell you to give Khilafat back to me, would you do it? And he goes, Ya Ali, yes, of course I would. I would give it. Imam Ali, he goes, okay, let's go. Let's go to the grave of the Holy Prophet. As they were walking, when they get close, the Holy Prophet, he comes to Abu Bakr and he grabs him by his collar. He grabs him by his collar and he tells them that you knew that this Khilafat was for Amir al-Mu'mineen. You knew that this Khilafat was for him. You give it back right now. Abu Bakr, he gets scared. He goes, Ya Ali, that's it. You can take it. Imam Ali, he goes, okay. If that's what you think, then fine. As they were walking back, they end up running into Umar. And Umar, Imam Ali, he goes one way. Abu Bakr, when he runs into Umar, they start talking. And Umar asks him, what is this I see on your face? Why are you this scared? He goes, Umar, that's it. I don't want anything to have to do with this Khilafat. I don't want anything to have to do with this Khilafat. He goes, why? What happened? He goes, I just went to the grave of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet came and he grabbed me by my collar and he told me to give it back to Ali. He told me to give it back to Ali. I'm scared. I don't want anything to have to do with this. What does Umar ibn Khattab say? He says, do you not know that this is the same magic that these people were doing in Mecca? Now they've brought that magic here. This is a companion of the Holy Prophet. Do you not know that this is the same magic that they were doing in Mecca? Now they've brought that magic here. Instead of this individual telling the second individual, no, this isn't magic. What does he do? He says, you know what? Now that I think about it, when we were running away, when we were leaving Medina when we were leaving Mecca to come to Medina, when we hid in that cave, the Holy Prophet, he showed me something. What did he show you? He showed me Jafar al-Tayyar. He showed me those boats. Now that I think about it, yes, you're right. It is that same magic. Is it Muslims who believe that prophets do magic, or is it kuffar that believe that prophets do magic? You come to the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. You come to the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. Those magicians, they were kuffar. The magicians in the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, they were kuffar, they were kafir, they weren't Muslim. Yet they understood that what Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was doing was not magic, it was miracles. They understood. This is what the difference is between being legitimately born and being illegitimately born. that someone that's legitimately born, even if they're kafir, they will understand that, yes, this is actually a miracle. This is actually a miracle. And when it comes to these miracles, it wasn't just the Holy Prophet. It wasn't just Amir al-Mu'mineen. You come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam's life, a miracle on top of miracle. One of the individuals that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, he loved the most. Yes, Ali al-Akbar, he loved him the most. But there was a 5-year-old girl that Imam Hussein alayhi salam loved so much. That name, Sakina, everyone should understand. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam used to say that, whenever I smell Sakina, I smell the fragrance of Jannat. Whenever I smell Sakina, I smell the fragrance of Jannat. Do you know why that is? If you look at the narrations, there's a wind in Jannat. There's a wind in Jannat that is fragrant. And that fragrance you do not find anywhere else except in Jannat. The narration says that the name of that fragrance or the name of that wind is Sakina. The name of that wind that is in Jannat is Sakina. This is why Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he used to say that whenever I smell Sakina, I smell the fragrance of Jannat. Why? Because it's possible that Lady Sakina, salawatullah, just like the same way, the Imams, they're in the form of, their reality is nur, but they came in this bashari state. The reality of Lady Sakina, it's possible that it was that wind in Jannat, she came in this bashari state. But this 5-year-old girl, for so long, what would she say to Imam Zain al-Abidin? What would she say to Lady Zainab? Do you all know? When they were in the Zindan of Kufa, oh, auntie dear, when will we go home? When will we finally go home? When they were in the Zindan of Sham, oh, brother Sajjad, when will we finally go home? Oh, auntie dear, when will we finally go home? Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayki ya Siddiqatu Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba. Ya Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Brothers and sisters, this 5-year-old daughter of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, her masa'ib, when did they start? Her masa'ib actually starts not just when Ali al-Asghar was shaheed, not just when Ali al-Akbar was shaheed, but her masa'ib really started when Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam was shaheed. Why? Because all of Al Muhammad, they relied on Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam to come back with water. They relied on Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam to protect the Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam. It's when Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam, he left this world. That's when Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he said, Ya Abbas, now my back has been broken. When he comes back with that flag, it's Lady Sakina, she's waiting and she sees the flag, but she doesn't see Abu al-Fazl. She sees Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What does she do? She asked Mullah Hussein, oh father dear, where's our uncle Abbas? As soon as she says this, Lady Zainab, she comes out of that tent. When she comes out of that tent, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he lifts Lady Sakina up and he says to her, oh my daughter Sakina, they've killed your uncle Abbas. When he says this, that's when Lady Zainab, she screams out, Ya Muhammada, Ya Aliya. When she says this, brother, sister, Shab happened on the 11th when they were being taken. There was one time, some narrations say that there was one time when they were being taken from Karbala to Kufa, that Lady Sakina, she asked Shimr, can you give us some water? Shimr, he says that after my soldiers drink, I'll give you water. When the soldiers drink, she asks for water. She goes, can you give us some water? That's when he says that after all the animals drink, I'll give you some water. After all the animals drink, she asks for some water. And what does he do? He takes that satchel of water and he pours it in front of the feet of Sakina. And she says, and he says, as long as I'm alive, you will never taste any water. Brother, sister, is this Sakina? She has gone through these masa'ib. She's gone to Zindan. She comes to Sham. Lady Sakina herself, when Sayyid Sajjad, he was asked about where it was the most difficult. He says that it was the most difficult in Sham. And one of the reasons that it was the most difficult in Sham, Lady Sakina herself, she says that Yazid, he put us in an area where there was no roof and the sun would constantly shine on our head, and it would burn our heads, it would burn our lips, it would burn our skin. This is what Lady Sakina went through. Brothers, sisters, for a whole year, Lady Sakina, she went through this. And now when Yazid, he has released Ahlul Bayt, what does Lady Zainab say? She says to Imam Zainul Abidin, Ya Sayyid Sajjad, can you ask Yazid for something? And he goes, oh my auntie, I do not want to ask him for anything. Ya Sayyid Sajjad, can you just ask him if we can go back to the Zindan? Why do you want to go back to the Zindan? Why? Because I've left an amanat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam there. When he gets permission, he goes to the Zindan, and there's a qabr, there's a qabr of Lady Sakina. The narration states that when Lady Sakina was being buried, the lady that was giving ghusl to her, she asked the people, has this person drank any poison? And they say to her, no, she has not drunk any poison. Why? It's because I see all of these marks on her body. That's why I'm asking you if she drank any poison. And when she was buried, now Sayyid Sajjad, he comes to that qabr and he puts himself over it and he says to her, oh my sister Sakina, my hands were tied and you kept asking me when we're going back home, when we're going back home. Oh my sister Sakina, now my arms are untied. We can go back home together now. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wal la'natullah ala qawmil kafirin. Matam Hussein.
Hussein, Hussein, Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. शबीर को सजदे में ज़िबा किसने किया है? 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 मज़लूम के मातम से हमें रोकने वालों, घर फ़ातिमा ज़हरा का तबाह किसने किया है? शबीर को सजदे में ज़िबा किसने किया है? शबीर को सजदे में ज़िबा किसने किया है? शबीर दे में ज़िबा किसने किया है? खैमे भी जलाए तो रिदाएं भी उतारी, सैदानियाँ सरनंग गे खड़ी रोती थी सारी। हिंदू थे, यहूदी थे, ईसाई या कोई और, इतना तो बता दो ये गुनाह किसने किया है शबीर को सजदे में।
किसने किया
है शबीर को सजदे में, ज़िबा किसने किया है शबीर को सजदे में, ज़िबा किसने किया है शबीर को सजदे में,
किसने किया है।
बेशीर के हलकून पे जब तीर लगा था और प्यास से मासूम का है खुश्क गला था, असगर ने जुबां होठों पे जब फेरी थी लोगों, तब खून से तर खुश्क गला किसने किया है शबीर को सजदे में, किसने किया है शबीर को सजदे में, ज़िबा किसने किया है या हुसैन।
ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे। शाहज़ादी शाहज़ादी सब्र कर, शाहज़ादी शाहज़ादी सब्र कर, सब्र कर मासूम बीबी सब्र कर, सब्र कर मासूम बीबी सब्र कर, तू जो रोएंगी हरम घबराएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे। सात शाम गरीबा है करीब, सात शाम गरीबा है करीब, एक क़यामत खेज उनवा है करीब, एक क़यामत खेज उनवा है करीब, दश्त में तन्हा हरम रह जाएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आए, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा। सब्र बनकर करबला की गोद में, सब्र बनकर करबला की गोद में, सो गए असगर कज़ा की गोद में, सो गए असगर कज़ा की कोख में, क्या खबर थी ये भी मारे जाएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे। अब फूफी ज़ैनब संभालेंगी तुम्हें, अब फूफी ज़ैनब संभालेंगी तुम्हें, गोद में अपने सुलाएंगी तुम्हें, गोद में अपने सुलाएंगी तुम्हें, सैयद सज्जाद दिल बहलाएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे, ऐ सकीना अब न बाबा आएंगे।
या हुसैन 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 है ने आके सफा टेढ़ा सीना मैं को नहीं मिलदा भदी मिटिया ते समदिया मैं को गिड़ वजे बाबा नाल अपने ऐसे जिंदगी तो थक पाइया मेरे वांग यतीम न कोई होवे मेरे वांग यतीम न कोई होवे ए रोज दुआ मंग दिया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया इंजलते हैदर मेडे इंजलते हैदर मेडे हट कुरोड़ा भूल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया है टेढ़ा सीना बाबा मैं रुल गया ओ बाबा मैं कुशा में लोका ने टेढ़े बाद कनीजी विच मंगया बाबा मैं कुशा में लोका ने टेढ़े बाद कनीजी विच मंगया मैं गैरत सैयदा दी मैं गैरत सैयदा दी ओ बेले मर गया टेढ़ा सीना ने लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना ने लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया उदता पहला फरसा मकतल विच मैं कुछ मार लाई मैं यतीमी दा दिता पहला फरसा मकतल विच मैं कुछ मार लाई मैं यतीमी दा इंज ज़ालिम हथ चाया इंज ज़ालिम हथ चाया मैं खाक तो झड़ पैया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया ओ जदा दाखिला होया शाम दे विच है भीड़ बाजारी लोका दी जदा दाखिला होया शाम दे विच है भीड़ बाजारी लोका दी फुपिया दे तोरन किते फुपिया दे तोरन किते ओ मेरा मंगदी रैया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया टेढ़ा सीना नहीं लभदा बाबा मैं रुल गया या हुसैन
सल्ले अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद अस्सलामु अलैका या नबी अल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या हबीब अल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या हुज्जत अल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या रहमतल लिल आलमीन अस्सलामु अलैका या बाइसल हुदा व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू अस्सलामु अलैका या अमीरुल मोमिनीन अस्सलामु अलैका या सुबुद्दीन अस्सलामु अलैका या अली इब्न अबी तालिब अलैहिस्सलाम
अस्सलामु अलैकी या बिन्त रसूलिल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैकी या फातिमत ज़हरा व सय्यदुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा मोहम्मद हसन मुज्तबा अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलल हुसैन व अला अली इब्निल हुसैन व अला औलादिल हुसैन व अला अस्हाबिल हुसैन, खसूसन अबुल फज़ल अब्बास इब्न अमीर अल मोमिनीन अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या मोहम्मद इब्न अली अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या जाफ़र इब्न मोहम्मद अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या मूसा इब्न जाफ़र अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या अली इब्न मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या मौलाना गरीब अल गुरबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुईन अज़-ज़ुअफ़ा वल फ़ुक़रा, अस्सलामु अलैका या शम्स अश-शमूस अनीस अन-नफूस अय्युहल मदफ़ून बिअर्ज़ तूस, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुहम्मद इब्न अली अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या अली इब्न मोहम्मद अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या हसन इब्न अली अलैहिस्सलाम, अस्सलामु अलैका या मौलाना साहिबल अस्र व ज़मान, अल्लमान 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 मिन फितनत ज़मान, अस्सलामु अलैका या खलीफतुर रहमान, अस्सलामु अलैका या शरीकल कुरआन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इमाम अल इंस व जान, अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फरजक व सअलल्लाहु तआला मखरजक व ज़हूरक व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।
अल्लाहुम्मा कुल्ले वली कल हुज्जत इब्निल हसन सलावातुका अलैहि वाला बाई फी हाज़े सात व फी कुल्ले सात वलियं व हाफ़िज़ं व काइदं व नासिरा ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوى وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.